It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this virtual event. My name is Corey Grant, Chair of the Hamilton Black History Council. The Hamilton Black History Council is a non-for-profit community organization whose mission is to promote, celebrate, and honor the history of people of African descent. This year's 2021 Hamilton Black History Month virtual launch is a celebration of our history, culture, and Hamilton community. The Council's work is guided by 4 pillars: celebration, connection, education, and empowerment. These pillars are reflected in the accomplishments and efforts of Black leaders and residents of Hamilton over many years and serve as the base upon which we continue to build our collective impact. Please sit back and enjoy what we have in store for you today on this virtual platform. Now let's get started.
It is my privilege to greet you on the occasion of the launch of Black History Month. We're living in a very difficult and challenging time. The Black community has faced many challenges over the years. Your history speaks to that. It is your history, and it is our history. It is the history of those who traveled the Underground Railway, who came to Canada from the West Indies, and those who have joined us more recently from all across Africa. It is the history of women and men, of children and the elderly, the history of those with us and those long departed. It is the history of those who have been treated with cruelty and the history of those who served up cruelty over too many years. Our community is in need of healing and in need of uplift, of justice, and of love. Our community is in need of education, and that is what Black History Month offers all of us. The opportunity to learn, to appreciate, to understand the lived experience of the Black community in Canada and in Hamilton. We need to acknowledge both the suffering and the joy that the Black community has experienced through the years. We need to learn to listen, to respect, and appreciate how we have all arrived where we stand today. And I pray that we will learn to work together in a spirit of cooperation and understanding, and above all, healing, to make our city a better place to work, to learn, to live, and to raise our families. May Black history be more than 1 month each year. May it fill our whole year with understanding.
Dr. Gary Warner taught courses at McMaster University on Francophone literature and on peace and international development, and held various administrative roles, including department chair, associate dean, co-director of the Thames School on International Justice and Human Rights, founding director of McMaster International, later renamed Office of International Affairs, and director of the Arts and Science Program. He served as a director of the CUSO program in Sierra Leone, West Africa, and later as chair of CUSO's International Board of Directors. He is a former vice chair of the Ontario Council of University Affairs. He has been active in the Hamilton community for over 45 years on issues related to international development, peace, poverty, human rights, anti-racism, immigration, and social justice, including having served on many boards. He currently serves on the HWDSB panel on bullying prevention, intervention, reporting, and responding, among others. He is a recipient of several awards, including the Hamilton Black History Council's Reverend John C. Holland Award, the McMaster Student Union Lifetime Achievement Award, the Order of Canada 2005, the Royal Bank Distinguished Citizen of the Year Award, the Ontario Gallery of Distinction 2006, Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal, and many more, too numerous to mention. He received an honorary degree, Doctor of Laws, from McMaster University on November 19, 2020. He lives with his wife Joy in Hamilton. They have 4 children and 9 grandchildren. Speaking on the theme of education as a pillar, please help me to welcome Dr. Gary Warner.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the introduction, Corey. I'm grateful for this opportunity to participate in this launch event. We are all very grateful for the work that the Black History Month Committee does and has done since its inception for our community. Education is an important choice as one of the 4 pillars and guiding principles of the Hamilton Black History Committee's work. Education is an essential element in enabling the Black community to overcome obstacles and to prosper. And speaking of obstacles, the systemic obstacles for Black students here in Hamilton and across Canada take many forms. Much of it is captured in this quote from the recently released Hamilton Wentworth District School Board Bullying Prevention Review Panel report. I quote from the report, "Black participants were frustrated by the ongoing experiences of systemic racism. They raised issues such as the disproportionate rates of suspension and expulsion of Black students being underestimated and streamed into lower restricted and applied programs, sometimes without parental consultation, the school-to-prison pipeline, and unequal distribution of resources to, quote, nicer schools," end of quote. I will add to that list the absence of Black history and achievements from the curriculum and the absence of role models for these students due to the underrepresentation of Black or other racialized people as educators in the classroom and elsewhere on the school property. Racialized educators are noticeably absent from the senior leadership of school boards. We see, of course, many high-performing Black students at the various award ceremonies, such as the John Holland Awards, the ACCPI, or the Tilly Johnson Scholarship, for example. However, their success does not diminish the reality of these systemic barriers for far too many Black youth. Education has been a liberating force for me personally, thanks in no small measure to the determination of my mother to provide me with the best available education, including moving me to an elementary school further away from home where there were better teachers. And I say thank you to Mr. Evans Mondi, my grade 5 teacher, who helped me on my way into St. Mary's College. Thanks to the scholarships that enabled my studies at St. Mary's College and later on at the university in France. Thanks as well to the supportive communities that I found as a student in France. We often think of education purely in terms of academic educational achievements, and these are, of course, of vital importance. In this regard, I say to students, aim high, do the best you can. But it is equally critical to take a broader view of education. The language of the 1990 Ontario Education Act provides a good framework for articulating three key elements of this broader view of education. The Act states, and I quote, "The purpose of education is to provide students with the opportunity to realize their potential and develop into highly skilled, knowledgeable, caring citizens who contribute to their society." Let us look briefly at each of those three elements of education. The first element is to realize your full potential. And to realize your full potential, you need the following. You need, first of all, positive self-awareness, positive self-esteem, so as to be comfortable in your skin and in your identity, so as to be able to resist, to the best of your ability, any attempt to limit or to downsize your aspirations. This reminds me of a story that was told to me by Harold Braffett, whom I got to know when he was a student in the French department at McMaster University. Harold hails originally from Barbados. Harold is a former director of the Peel School Board. But when he was a student, one of his teachers told him that because of his accent, he was Bajan, right? Because of his accent, he couldn't become a teacher. Luckily, Howard was undeterred, and as I said, became a teacher and eventually the director of the board, the Peel Board of Education. So positive self-esteem. You also need supports to be able to realize your potential. Supports from parents, guardians, caregivers, supports through peer mentorship, and supports, well, from community organizations, Empowerment Squared, ACCA, among many, many others. To realize your full potential, you need as well life skills. For example, empathy, the social skills to relate to others, to manage relationships. And this reminds me that one of the recommendations of the bullying panel is to the Ontario Board of Education is to rebalance a bit, to rebalance the relationship building skills and the equity considerations to with the academic um, uh, expectations. Uh, we undervalue these relationship skills. So empathy, social skills, very important. Life skills, including as well how to manage challenges. So it's self-management, character building, right? And resilience, being able to bounce back when you come up against unexpected, unforeseen adversities, and not to be overwhelmed, not to lose heart, but to be able to bounce back. So all of these to realize your full potential. And I put at the top of that list positive self-awareness. And I'm grateful for having grown up in Trinidad, in Port of Spain, at the time of independence. The pride of becoming independent, which was part of bolstering my own self-knowledge. The second element I would mention is from that quote is to develop into highly skilled and knowledgeable people. At the top of the list of requirements to develop into highly skilled and knowledgeable people, I would put learning to learn. Learning to learn. Very important. Uh, there's a difference between, and people talk about the difference between teaching to learn and learning to learn. And 21st century skills for students should be based on learning to learn, helping students to achieve, the skill and the capacity to learn, to be self-directed learners. I only realized how important this was when I look back at my own studies in France, when I had to self-study um, for my Bachelor of Arts honors from the University of London. Living in France, registered externally, but with no tutors, nothing, just the curriculum, and they had to be studied, learning to learn, and I did it. Similarly, the same ability of learning to learn was very helpful in enabling me to move from teaching 17th century French literature to creating new courses in African, Francophone African and Caribbean literature, right? Learning to learn, very important, top of the list. Of course, educational achievement, whether it's academic or vocational. And ultimately, you have to do what inspires you. Also, you have to expect to move into different types of work over time. Critical thinking skills, the ability to analyze, to see beyond the surface, to find the right questions to ask, to uncover misinformation, to delve into sometimes conflicting evidence, to make informed judgments. You also need problem solving skills, as well as communication skills, oral skills, written skills, skills adaptable to different contexts, and also interpersonal communication skills. All of this to be, if you want to become a highly knowledgeable person. And finally, caring citizens contributing to the community. I would use as a guide for this two terms that I used in a recent speech: Ubuntu, the traditional Bantu African concept, our common humanity. We're all in this together, caring for each other rather than toxic individualism or self centeredness. And the other, Tikkun Olam, a traditional Jewish concept, healing the earth. So these two, I propose, should be our guide. So what does that mean in practice? It means volunteering, doing extracurricular activities, advocacy at school, recognizing, of course, that not everyone is in a life situation in circumstances that would allow them to participate in such activities. There could be all sorts of factors that prevent people from having that liberty, that freedom to do those things. Support your immediate community also as a caring citizen. Advocacy and support for the broader common good of your city, of your neighborhood, of the broader community, province, and country in which you live. And this can be done through the nature of the work that you do or as a volunteer. And there are innumerable opportunities to volunteer, to contribute in that way to the common good. So, as I said, the common good, the good immediate community, but also the broader community. And finally, we often forget that this is part of being a caring citizen is care for the earth, environmental awareness. So, in conclusion, I would say then that education is all the more critical as we get ready to enter an unscripted post-pandemic world. Let us keep this broader vision of education in our sights as we launch Black History Month 2021 and look towards the future. Thank you.
In June 2020, Abigail, Alexandria, and Alicia Montague created an Instagram platform that would celebrate, showcase, explore, and support Black businesses in the greater Hamilton area. They created an open resource listing with over 150 Black businesses and organizations in Hamilton. Within 6 months, their platform has grown on Instagram to over 5,400 followers that consist of both businesses and consumers. Businesses have seen positive support and engagement as a result of the efforts of Black-owned Hamont. The Hamilton Spectator, Tourism Hamilton, and McMaster Silhouette have recently featured Black-owned Hamont, this amazing initiative started by the Montague sisters. We are encouraged that they are on to something important. Speaking on the theme of connection as a pillar, please help me to welcome the Montague sisters.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction. We are so excited to be with you all this afternoon. Community.
Community is a collective of individuals who unitedly come together to accomplish goals and support one another.
Community.
Community is providing an empowering space for its members to grow.
Community. Community is an extension of my home. It is a space that I can feel welcome, supported, and celebrated. Community is the root of connection.
We are Black-owned Hbhc. In response to the performative gestures of Blackout Tuesday, we wanted to create a platform to showcase Black businesses and entrepreneurs. An approachable form of activism is through purchasing power, and we found it important to inform Hamiltonians where to redirect their money. So, on June 2nd, we created an online open resource which lists all the Black businesses and entrepreneurs in Hamilton and the surrounding areas, as well as started an Instagram page to highlight these businesses.
Since June, we have grown to over 5,000 followers and a list of 150 businesses and counting. We have connected these businesses with the greater Hamilton community through our features by putting a face to the business and showcasing their products and services. In the fall of 2020, we launched our merch to generate funds to create programming for Black-owned businesses here in Hamilton. During the holiday season, we created a gift guide filled with Black-owned businesses along with the Advent calendar with deals from partnering Black-owned businesses as well. Most importantly, we have gotten the chance to know you more. We have created great relationships not only with Black owners and entrepreneurs, but with the community partners, allies, and getting to know our followers who reach out.
We envision being staple organizations here in Hamilton and helping to create a sustainable economy for Black-owned businesses. One of the ways we are doing this is to connect with Black-owned businesses to learn and understand where we can provide services to improve their businesses. It is our goal to provide resources, classes, and workshops in addition to our platform as tools to assist these businesses. In addition, we are partnering with the Black-led organizations in other cities to host virtual markets for Black-owned businesses.
Margaret Wheatley said, "There is no power for change greater than a community discovering what they care about." For years and years, a lot of our focus has been on how to change the way by which the rest of society treats us. But today, we want to urge you that we should shift our focus to a goal of strengthening the connections within our community. Results from this will unify us, strengthen our dollar, and display modern-day activism.
As a community, we need to develop a sense of synergy. Through synergy, we can create greater support and change for the common goal of sustainably uplifting the Black community in Hamilton. This is our goal through Black-owned Hbhc. Knowledge is power. The more we know about each other helps to provide an opportunity for connections. The important piece to us launching this platform is to get to know the faces behind these businesses and Black-led organizations. There is that common saying that people love to do business with the people they know. Some of you may have heard the statistic that says the Black dollar does not circulate for long within the Black community. Through connections, we will strengthen the Black dollar. It made us so happy to learn that someone who purchased their home in Hamilton used a Black realtor, a Black mortgage broker, and a Black cleaning company. That was 3 businesses that were impacted by one person's dollar. Spending money locally boosts our local economy and provides an opportunity for these businesses to hire, creating more opportunities for us to thrive. By no means are we suggesting not to support our larger community. We're suggesting that when possible, we should increase the opportunity for our dollar to circulate longer in our communities. All in all, unifying our community and strengthening our dollar will lead to a powerful change that is actually what we would describe as the modern day advocacy. Imagine how many people will have a seat at the table, an opportunity to build generational wealth for our families and communities. We have seen how providing this resource has led to many people reaching out to us to provide them with connections to people in all industries. Imagine now if we take this mindset and bring that into our everyday conversations. When someone at work mentions as a new job opportunity, through our connections, we would now be able to provide them with a list of diverse candidates. Imagine now that a friend asks for a recommendation to a great wing place to eat in the city. Instead of naming off one of the franchise restaurants, now we are equipped to name a Black-owned business. We are now providing this business with the opportunity to one day grow and scale and have many franchises through our continued support. This, my friends, is modern day advocacy. Connection in community.
I see connection in community when individuals who seem least likely to come together prove society wrong and join forces for the common good.
Connection in community.
I see connection in community is when all members can find a place and purpose within their community.
Connection in community. I see connection in community when, despite what we might be going through as individuals, we come together and show our support continually for our neighbors. Examples are the overwhelming positive support of the Hamilton community through our page. We are just a few people shy of that 5,500 in just under a few months. Or when the car drove through the cannon window and the community's first response was to create the GoFundMe page to support this getting fixed. Connection in community. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come and share with you guys. Please be sure to connect with us on Instagram if you haven't. And if you are a Black owner or you lead a Black-led organization, please reach out to us so that we can add you to our list.
Hello, my name is Terry Bedminster, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Ainara Aline. Ainara is an 11-year-old from Hamilton with a passion for reading, cosplay, and acting. She started Ainara's Bookshelf, a bookstagram highlighting Black, Indigenous, and people of color characters and books for young readers. She believes that through reading, kids of all backgrounds can share in the humanity and experiences of diverse cultures. She has been featured on CBC The National and has hosted literary festivals and interviewed many accomplished authors. Most recently, she was named Hamilton Public Library's first junior librarian in e-residence and is working with them to increase the diversity of their shelves. Through this work and her presentations with teachers and virtual classroom visits, Ainara hopes to spread the importance of diversity to all who will listen. Hamilton Black History Council was so excited to select Ainara as the individual and young leader to bring us a presentation on the importance of empowerment. Welcome, Ainara.
Thanks for the introduction, Mrs. Bedminister. Thank you so much for inviting me to this event. I'm not going to lie, looking at all the other speakers today, I was a little intimidated. I want to take a moment to acknowledge all their efforts in the Hamilton community. Thank you so much for your hard work supporting community, social justice, and fighting racism. I'm honored to be here with you, and I hope I can contribute something meaningful to this event. The pillar I was given is empowerment. Like I do when I come across a new word in a book, I decided to start by looking it up. Empowerment. Authority or power given to someone to do something. But then I saw the secondary definition. Empowerment. The process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. So, empowerment is something you can give and something you can become. So, I wanted to talk about both of those. I read a book about an activist, Ella Baker, called Lift As You Climb. And in it, she says, give light and people will find the way. So, you can picture empowerment as being a flame inside of you that you can use to light other people's flames. For example, my fellow speaker today, Ashley Montague, and her Black-owned Hamilton. She is an empowered woman, and she recognized a need for something in the community. Black-owned Hamilton empowers people to spend their money in their own communities, and in turn, empowers the business owners to be successful and take care of their families, and so on. See? The flame from Ashley and her team helped grow the flame of so many people, who in turn did the same for their families and community. You never get empowered on your own. I used Ashley as an example. Sorry, Ashley. But that story started with her already being empowered. How do people get empowered in the first place? How do they get that flame to pass it on? The answer is other people. Our community, our families, our teachers, and other mentors. This flame didn't start with Ashley. She got it from other people. Our community has been doing this forever. We often hear, it takes a village. Because it does. From our ancestors in their actual villages to the slaves piecing together broken and shuffled families into new families, our community has a history of taking in and lifting up. I'm sure everyone listening has a place where they can go unconditionally for advice. A shoulder to cry on, or most importantly, a plate of food. Empowerment is food. Empowerment is mentorship. Empowerment is even just listening to someone. Anything you can do to make that flame inside one burn a little brighter. My dad has empowered me all my life. So when I moved to my new school and saw the lack of diversity in books, I decided to start Ainara's bookshelf to highlight books by Black, Indigenous, and people of color. From there, people like Evelyn Myrie from the Women Who Rock Awards, Magda Gabriselassie from the CBC The National, Sarah Hennessy from Western University, all the teachers, parents, and young readers that have reached out have added to my flame. When they say they've learned something or added a book I recommended to their school or library, I feel like I've added to their flame. I want young Black kids to know they should use their flame. I never would have imagined that my Instagram would end up with Hamilton Public Library making me the first junior librarian in residence. They are actually taking recommendations on books to diversify the library. From me. My library. Add my recommendations. Last week, I recommended a book about a young Black girl who used her experience with racism to cope with being an other when thrust into a magical world. Sounds good, right? They added it the next day. So use your flame. When you see an issue or a problem, find a way to fix it. Your parents, teachers, and friends are here to empower you to be empowering. Ask for help, make a plan, and speak out. You don't know what kind of impact you can make until you actually try. I want to leave you with a poem by Elizabeth Acevedo called Rock the Boat that speaks to be empowered and speaking up to make a change. Someone might tell you, don't rock the boat, when they want you to hush. When they are afraid of change. When they are doing something wrong or that makes them afraid and they don't want anyone to know. There's a feeling you might get when they say that. When you know someone has done or said something unjust. Something that might hurt you or another being. That feeling might be a tightening in your chest or a tightening of your fist, and most times you should not thrust out either. But follow that feeling and speak up and speak out. Even if it doesn't feel easy, rock the boat. Rock the boat. Practice saying, don't do that to her, or you're hurting him, or I don't feel good when you. Speaking up might make your hands shake, or your voice small, or your heart flutter like a bird taking flight, but that feeling, the tightening of your chest, the tightening of your fist, you may not have to thrust out either, but trust that your body is telling you to speak up and speak out. Even if it doesn't feel easy, rock the boat. Rock the boat. And sometimes it might seem you're the only one who can see or feel that something is not quite right in how another is being treated, or in how you are being treated. And you may want to stay quiet so as not to rock the boat. But just know, you contain waves. You are an ocean. Your heart is as large as lakes. And when it quakes, you have to rise. And rise and let the tide inside you shake every single ship that would attempt to sweep someone beneath. Rock the boat. Rock the boat. With love and hope, rock the boat. That was Rock the Boat by Elizabeth Acevedo. Thank you so much again for having me here today. Just knowing that you allowed me to speak here today has empowered me to keep spreading my voice and sharing my message. Have a good day, everybody.
In 2019, Matthew Green was elected the Member of Parliament for Hamilton Centre. He previously made history when he became the first person of color elected to Hamilton City Council in 2014. During his time as Ward 3 councillor, Matthew's policy initiatives focused on ecological, equity, and economic justice. Matthew has a political science and legal studies degree from Acadia University and continued his education at McMaster University, as well as the Harvard Kennedy School of Government and Harvard Business School. Prior to being elected to City Council, Matthew owned a small business in Hamilton and most recently served as the Executive Director of the Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion. Matthew is the NDP critic for National Revenue, Public Services and Procurement, Treasury Board, Deputy Critic for Ethics. Hamilton Black History Council has selected MP Matthew Green to speak to us today on the importance of celebration. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you for that very kind introduction. What an honor it is to join you all here in this virtual gathering to launch Hamilton's official Black History Month. As an event in years past, we typically would have been gathering, actually, likely right now, we would have been lining up at barbershops and salons and getting ready in our Sunday best to attend the annual J.C. Holland Awards banquet, which of course is our community's gathering, our annual gathering to celebrate Black excellence and achievement in the city of Hamilton. But we know that this year is different. We know that with COVID, we are forced to gather virtually here online to, look at ways in which we can keep each other safe, keep ourselves safe in these very difficult times. And yet, I would suggest to you that it's still incumbent on us to find the joy, to find and celebrate the excellence within our community, perhaps now more than ever. And I reflect on our national anthem, our Black national anthem, which states, "Lift every voice and sing." Now, that wasn't written at a time when our community had things easy. Far from it. That was written as a reflection of the darkness that our community has faced for generations and yet continued to persevere over, and in doing so, in a resilience and a resistance, celebrated our very survival. Today ought to be no different. I want to share with you my own personal experience with this annual event, this opening of Black History Month, which I said in years past was contained within the J.C. Holland Awards. And I'm sure at the appropriate time and place, we will gather again. I look forward to the hugs and the handshakes and the laughter and the music and the food. But for now, I just want to share with you my own personal story that as a young person, like many young people, I left this city thinking that I would never return, knowing that the prospects of finding a good job and raising a family were exceedingly difficult in the city of Hamilton. And so when I found my way home after 5 or 6 years of being away, I experienced what many young people experience when they return after leaving. I was deep loneliness, disconnectedness. I felt many of my friends had gone on. It was a very different feeling, as a young adult, not being rooted in my social groups of team sports or school. Uh, and it was through, the organizing of of people who, at the time, like Evelyn Myrie, who tapped me on my shoulder and said, "Hey, Matthew, we know that you're in fitness and sports, and we have this new program. Would you get connected?" And I had my first opportunity to reconnect with the community through our aerobics program, which was an incredible opportunity that for every exercise I taught in our class, in our seniors class, I learned a dozen life lessons back. That in giving, I received more than I could have ever imagined. I was connected in the community relationships that I to this day value and treasure. So to all of my super seniors out there in the aerobics program, know that I continue to love and treasure and celebrate you. And it was through that work where I once again felt connected to the community, and through that work where I would inevitably be recognized through the J.C. Holland Awards as a nominee and an award winner in the past, connecting with, I'll say, classes or cohorts of people that have gone back in our civic duty to indeed the legacy of John C. Christie Hawley, but even before that, that for those of us who are downtown who look up to the escarpment, you will know that at the escarpment were vibrant Black communities that go back to pre-official city of Hamilton, that go to the original settlements of the city. We have been here contributing, helping with the prosperity of the city. And without question, at every step along the way, we have also continued to face the adversities and the barriers of anti-Black racism in this city. That in the very same escarpment that I could look to just blocks from this office, there were at a time crosses burning. That on James Street, just a few blocks to the center of the city, there were Ku Klux Klan who were marching in the streets. That while we celebrate, we never gloss over the challenges that we face as a community, that we are here to celebrate in spite of them. And that the anti-Black racism that is pernicious to this day in the communities, whether it be through healthcare or education or in policing or in just the day-to-day lives, the rise of the far right, that our resilience and our excellence and our achievement are celebrated in spite of them. That is the beauty of our community. That is the strength of our community. That is why these gatherings, whether it's online, virtually, or hopefully in the future in person, are so incredibly important. That in moments of darkness and despair, our community does not recoil. That we continue to be on the front lines. That when you look at how our community has taken care of each other, if we look at the organizations that are out there that are doing incredible work throughout the entire diaspora, the diverse and vast and complicated and beautiful diaspora in every section, be it in the different languages that are spoken here, in the different faith groups that are spoken here, the different cultural communities, we are coming together to take care of one another in a very beautiful and profound way. It's for that I am deeply honored to be a member of Parliament, so that when I go back to the House of Commons, that I can bring this message of resilience for the launch of Black History Month. And I challenge you all that when you are feeling the darkness and despair, to look for those small moments of beauty and joy, and hold on to them and celebrate them and share them, no matter how big or how small. That is our strength. That is our beauty. And for that, I want to say thank you to all the incredible board members and volunteers of the Black History Committee, of all of our grassroots organizations, from our continental African groups, our Caribbean groups, folks from Central and South America, and to the multi-generational Canadians of African descent right here in the city of Hamilton. I celebrate you, I honor you, and I love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Before I get to my closing remarks, I just want to let everyone know we will be moving to a live question and answer period where audience members can ask questions to a few of our panelists, so please stay tuned. But for right now, I'd like to make a few announcements. Yes, some of you may have noticed I've changed my sweater again. And as for my background, I've gone right back to the beginning. And guess what? That's okay. We're virtual, and I'm at home, and we have the luxury. And I thought, you know what? Why not take full advantage? Now, with the real announcements. Yes, for those that have been asking, there will be a Reverend John C. Holland event this year. The pandemic will not keep us from celebrating the awards. We have decided this year's 25th annual Reverend John C. Holland Awards will be held during the summer of 2021. Next, please save the date of Sunday, February 28th, as we will be having a virtual healing celebration to end Black History Month. I'd like to call it a DJ party. We can come together, celebrate virtually with good music and friends. Please follow us and keep an eye on our website and social media channels for updates for both events. For any questions or inquiries, please contact johnhollandawards@gmail.com. I would like to say thank you to all of our sponsors, presenters, and the individuals behind the scenes who helped make this virtual event a success. Lastly, I want to thank you, all the viewers who have taken the time to celebrate with us virtually the 2021 Hamilton Black History Month launch. Black History Month is about understanding and learning from the past, living in the present, and believing in the future. Remember to celebrate our differences, be willing to listen to each other, empower each other, and finally connect with each other to create a world where we can all prosper. I look forward to the day we can all get together in person again. But until then, stay safe and have a blessed day. And now to our live question and answer.